The next person that is coming up, a gentleman, is Gulshan Verma, and I would like to call Vatsal to say a couple of words for us.
Announces both of us together. I just take only 1 minute of your presentation time. Like I mentioned yesterday that at some point in time, when we had the advisory meeting in Delhi, I guess it was some date in February, we had a lot of people and everybody said, like I mentioned, yes, yes, we are there to support, we are there to support. And Gulshan was particularly very difficult. He asked a lot of questions. And when we came back and I was discussing with Shelly, so I said, yeah, look, see, these 8 guys have said we are going to support and why don't you send them a sponsorship proposal? And Shelly said, no, I think, let me make this pitch to Gulshan first. I said, leave it, man. This man was asking so many questions as we are trying to con people over here. So just junk it, don't send anything to them. And Shelly did her bit of talking to Gulshan, and thanks, Gulshan, for giving us that first initial support, because after some point in time, speaking to those 8 or 10 people, and everybody said there's only support, Gulshan and Komli were the first people to say there's support with money and carry on with your convention. I think you guys can pull it off. And my thanks, Gulshan, to you, and thanks from everybody for making this convention possible. Of course, all the other sponsors have also supported, but we needed that first big name to come in, and thanks for coming in. Thanks.
So I didn't realize that I was being so difficult in our meeting in February, but I was just trying to ask something. A lot of interesting topics around here. I thought I would just limit to what we're talking about as the India opportunity in direct marketing and digital over a 3-year period. We've had a lot of, 10-year visions and 5-year visions and all that stuff, but I thought it would be helpful to talk about that. And I'll probably pick 2 or 3, hopefully more local examples of what we see, and a couple of opportunities. So one in social media, mobile, and big data. But I picked this up from the Direct Marketing Association. And what is the definition of direct marketing? And 2 kind of phrases really jumped out at me. Interactive and measurable sale, lead, retail purchase. That's really what we're here about. Okay. That differentiates us from the big creativity, the big brand. Not that we can't be creative, but that's really what we're here about. Anyone who was in Delhi on Monday or in UP on Tuesday will probably laugh at this when we start talking about the new market, the new expanding markets, all the other stuff. And for those of you who just flew in overnight or from outside, there was a massive power outage. Half of India's population without electricity for somewhere between 24 and 36 hours. And there's all sorts of articles in the newspaper and everything about that. But daily ups and downs, weekly ups and downs aside, there's one fact that's actually jumping out, which is if you looked 7 years ago, there are about 5 million households in India earning between, and I wrote this for an Indian audience, so between 2 and 10 lakhs. Okay. Total household spend of 1,000 crores. Okay. 3 years from now, there will be 20 million households spending 6,000 crores. Okay. That's a 4x growth in the size of the middle class and about a 6x growth in the spend. Okay. We can jump up and down about why can't it be like this or that, but speaking as somebody who's been living in India now for 5 years, it does get better, and there is an opportunity. Yeah, just jumping through. Okay. This is the interesting thing, and this is done by McKinsey, and the previous numbers from McKinsey as well, 2 years ago. So if you look 2 years ago, there were about 80 million people on the internet. Okay. Now, I think, depending on who you talk to, somewhere between 120 and 150 million users. Okay. In 3 years' time, there's 450 million users on the internet. And actually, the respected gentleman, I'll have one differentiation between what he said previously. So there'll be about 250 million people with a PC and accessing the internet, and about 400 million people with mobile accessing the internet in 3 years' time. And yes, this is the year that mobile is taking over web penetration in India. But the difference point is this. 60% of internet users in India only use a mobile device. That's their prime purpose. So frankly, most of the mobile data we're seeing right now is not me and you with a smartphone. It's actually probably feature phones, probably the only phone that they use. That's a very differential purpose right now. Right now, 67% of Indian e-commerce comes from mobile devices. Whether somebody picks up the phone and calls, they find some information, they download an app, whatever it is, it's happening. Okay. Social networking. We've talked about it a lot. It's been alluded to a lot. And, Cormley's lucky enough to be the official sales partner of Facebook in India for thing. Depending on how you look at it, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, 60 million people are using Facebook, 13 on Twitter, 15 on LinkedIn, and growing very fast. Frankly, of the 60 million people, 40% are coming back daily. Okay. The information they're giving right now, and this is actually one of my things, is amazing, and they're giving it voluntarily. We talk about data privacy. I was actually having a conversation about 3 months ago with a major FMCG company, and they were selling toothpastes. We were having a conversation. He said, what's really interesting is that I have a big B2C conversation with you. Typically, can we reach the audience, Rushmore and all this stuff. But I have dentists. They're my big B2B audience right now. Okay? And I don't know how to reach them. And what we did is we actually culled out a list of 800 plus dental colleges in India. We were able to target everybody who graduated from a dental college in the last 10 years. That's a B2B audience that you can't create in any other way. Okay. This is another Indian example, and unfortunately the client of mine in this case declined to make his name public, but it's one of the top 3 retailers in the country. And they wanted to celebrate running 1 million fans. They had 1 million fans on Facebook, and we said, great, big number. We took a step back and said, okay, from a business perspective, okay, you spent 1 million fans, you spent some money, you created a page, you did some outreach, you got 1 million fans. What does that mean? To the CFO conversation, does that really mean anything? So we actually did a test. And we did a test because, we're all direct marketers and we want to see what works. And what we wanted to know is, does a fan do anything? Are they more loyal? Do they spend more? Are they just, do they just frankly just turn up because they got the free goodie or they got, something? And what we realized is that for every 1,000 rupees we spent, and we gave them a 500 rupee off voucher. You spend this and you get 500 rupees off. But you have to go to the store. And you have to go print out the voucher. So you have to go to the PC, get the image and print it out. And then go to the store and then show it. Very kind of hacky kind of thing we did. For every 1,000 rupees they spent, which is including the discount plus some media promoting it, they got 25,000 rupees in incremental sales. Only due to that. Okay. That's why they don't want me to share it in terms of the exact details. But that's actually an interesting fact. You reach fans, they do something, they pick it up, they share it with their friends, and people walked into the store. They actually spent money. And this is the only place we ran it. So they know it works. It's a big difference. This is the nascent power of social media. And yes, they acquired 53,000 likes, but what really matters, people took and walked into the store, and they spent money. That's a big deal. This is a new one, actually, and this is actually not an Indian example, but I thought this was interesting. Okay. This is an example of Sony selling their new Xperia phones globally.
At the beginning of 2011, Sony Ericsson asked agencies to propose a global big idea for its Xperia range of smartphones that would set it apart from competitors like Apple's iPhone. Xperia Studio was our response. We didn't set out to create a campaign. Instead, we built a real-world proving ground where the world's most entertaining phone was put to the test by the very people who consume, create and share some of the best content on the web. Xperia Studio invites the most talented people of the digital generation to create beautiful, disruptive experiences.
The idea of this application is trying to show you that which you can't see. It's trying to show you that which is invisible.
We paired up with programmers, athletes, musicians, filmmakers and scientists to demonstrate the potential of Xperia smartphones.
Gives us a chance to play and experiment. Now we have some phones and it's great processing power in your hand. So it's a new technology and it's exciting to play with it.
We create the kind of content that digital influencers like to share. We make apps and installations, movies and music, all while our cameras roll.
It gave me access to 7 great phones, to use them as a cluster for this 360 video.
The result is an always-on content platform designed to capture and maintain our audience's interest with high-quality, highly shareable content, all made using Xperia devices. By the end of year 1, we had commissioned 10 Xperia Studio projects, gaining attention from titles like Gizmodo and Engadget. Xperia Studio continues to be a marketing success for Sony Ericsson, but perhaps most excitingly, it continues to provide a platform for inspiring ideas.
Great. Sounds great, but what does it have to do with direct marketing? Sounds like a big brand new launch. They reached 10,000 fans, and 10,000 is not a lot when you're trying to drive a global launch of a mobile phone. But they were able to reach 245,000 fans through shares, with a potential reach of 2.6 million. Now, what I thought was really interesting is those shares and those messages actually generated a click-through rate of 20%. Compared to a normal emailer with all the targeting, with all the insights, with all your customer opt-in lists that you've created, of 5.9% right now. Okay. And if you can do that with 59 million people in India right now, up to, let's say, on Facebook, potentially expanding 2x, 3x, what could you do? Because you now have the opportunity to reach 500,000 people, 500 million people, very quickly, very soon. We should be making plans for it. Okay. This is actually a pretty quick presentation because I just wanted to some thoughts. We talked a bit about data. I don't think anybody has the answer right now, but hold on. So, again, the company that did that is a company called Fathom. They generated another $4 million in 6 days.
Thanks a lot.